Wow, that's great liver. Just bought that. Super sweet almost. That's really good liver. Holy shit. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Eating liver daily, it's almost too much energy. I don't have the skills to contain that energy. Like for real. This is one of the best livers I ever had. Like super mild taste. Very sweet. So good. Liver also so inexpensive, and talking about that butter. Get in here, get in the shot. Talking about that butter. And I'm not talking about the good ass butter. I'm talking about the monopoly money butter. That man-made paper butter. That you have to use to get some raw chicken. If you don't have your chickens on your own. That's one of the ways you can see how lost human beings are when you think about the money and how people use it. First they gotta slave all their freaking day, all their days, 5 days a week, 9 to 5, some people even more. They gonna spend all that energy, that little bit of energy they got left, to get that money. And where do they spend that butter? That's how you know people are so lost. They'd be spending all their monopoly money on all these things, technologies, clothes, this or that shiny freaking metals, this watch, that watch, this car, that car. But then they're eating like slaves. They're motherfucking dogs and cats eat better than themselves. And then they're surprised when they start to have all these problems. Then they're surprised when they have to start spending their monopoly money on all these medications for themselves and their kids, if they have ones. They start to wonder why their kids don't got their motivation that far inside of them anymore. It's brutal when you see somebody who makes it when it comes to the money in this system, but they still slave inside of their head. They spend their money on all this nonsense. Maybe once a year. They spend their money on some good steaks, medium rare steaks in the restaurant. Once a year, maybe twice. But they got all that dough and they spend that money on that fucking grain sludge dough. They be eating cereals and shit. Oh my god. That's ridiculous when you think about it. Number one thing, you should be spending your monopoly money. What makes the most difference in your day? And if you think about your family, what makes the most difference when you want to raise healthy, happy, strong offspring? what makes the most difference when it comes to your significant other. So they are good to be around, easy to be around, easy to work together with. Also makes the sexy time a lot better when those hormones are working like hormones inside of real natural human being are supposed to work. One of the reasons why so many couples are having so much hard time, first of all conceiving, or second of all getting along together, still having those sexual feelings towards each other, because they grow apart, living a very unhealthy lifestyle. They don't spend that money they make on real food anymore. Maybe once we can have good steaks, even though we have all this money and we're spending it on bitcoins or this or those stocks or whatever the fuck that don't even exist. Food, number one thing you should be spending your money. And good food, it is kinda expensive these days. Except organs, they're very cheap. Thank the Lord. This butter I get, this shit hella expensive. If you wanna buy wild game, I have some moose meat right now waiting for maybe tomorrow. We're gonna do new animal taste test. Let's go. We're ticking off boxes with those animals. Moose, probably the strongest animal I tasted this for. And I had some moose meat before, but never raw. Raw moose meat tomorrow, maybe. That's gonna be sick. But if you want, like we can get moose meat now in Finland. It's the hunting season in the fall and beginning of winter. But it is super expensive. Now obviously if you go out there in the nature and do it like that, now nature provided it, then it's free of the monopoly money. You just need to use a little bit of your energy, physical or mental energy, a little bit of both, to get that hunt. Even though these days you have to pay this or that kind of things to actually do it in most countries. It's illegal otherwise. But what makes the most difference in you, your well-being, how you feel day by day, it's the food. And if you spend your dough on shitty ass food, you're gonna be weak, you're gonna go like this, when you could go like this. It's gonna affect all your relationships. If you wanna raise a healthy family, it's gonna affect that big time. If you want best for your kids, best thing you can do is spend that monopoly money on some real food and give that to your kids as much as they need and want. And they're gonna grow real good. And they're gonna thank your ass when they realize what you did to them. That's why so many people are so fucked up these days. And it's impossible almost for them to have relationships or even attract a mate in this world. We're falling apart. By the day. Probably the second biggest thing you can spend your money is to buy your own land or rent it from the government and then build really natural environment for you and your family. That's the second biggest thing. But even that comes after the food aspect. It's crazy how some of these millionaires and billionaires eat like shit. It's so crazy to me. Now some of them also don't. They got that secret juice, so to speak. But yeah, if you got the dough, start spending that money on the best quality food you can get. The best quality beef, wild game meat, the best quality seafood. Seafood is super expensive where I live because I don't live by the sea. You can get those oysters, scallops. Ooh, scallops are amazing raw. One of my favorites. Bone marrow, scallops. Those are some of the best foods there is. Then you can invest and buy the land and start growing your own animals, like a boss. That's the real boss move. And do that aside. Raise your own animals, so you actually know you don't have to medicate them. You can give them the best food and the best land to roam. And then when it's time, you eat them. That's how you really spend your money in this society. And it's so good for your children to see those animals and see the circle of life. Man. Then you also get all the best parts of the animal. You can eat the whole animal like a G. And you're gonna feel like a real G when you do that. But even if you don't got that kind of dough to spend, you're gonna feel like a real G if you just invest the best quality food you can get. I mean, it's still pretty accessible. Like, it's not insanely expensive. And fuck the other things. They go way behind all the cars, all the nonsense on the clothes, all that. That shit don't affect your life. Or if it does, it's just facade. That's not those. That's not that real shit. That liver was great. Yeah, boy, go get that Monopoly money. But remember to spend that shit the best you can. It's gonna make a big difference. Massive difference. That beef is good. That wasn't even that expensive. There's still hope left. Thanks for watching. And see you in the next one. Be best.